Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask what is it. Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo.
So, tell me a little bit about your history and how you got into, I guess, theatre.
So I'm from Belfast in Northern Ireland, and my way into theatre and to directing actually began with dance. My mum dropped me off at a hip-hop dance class when I was like 11 years old, which was kind of social suicide in Northern Ireland, but my mum was very progressive. And I begged not to go. I begged her, let me just stay in the car, and she said, just try one class, and if you don't like it, you never have to go back. And of course I went in, and we had this amazing teacher called Sylvan Baker, was this kind of like black guy from London, and it was just the most creative and exciting thing I'd experienced up to that point. And I went back every week and then started doing ballet and contemporary and all of these other kind of like dance styles as well. So long before I kind of even really knew what theatre was, I was like a mover and was like dancing with dance companies in Northern Ireland and making work. And then when I got a little bit older and went to college, I found my way into directing and theatre, and that was that. But dance is a huge influence, and movement is a huge influence in the way that I work as a theatre director. And that was what was so interesting about when Diane asked me to come aboard for this collaboration. It was a way of kind of marrying the two parts of my background into something quite exciting.
Is it different working with dance versus theatre?
Well, obviously the two art forms are very, very, very deeply connected. Like the idea of some kind of human artistic expression for an audience in the space, the idea of a marrying of individual creativity and the kind of technical aspects, like trying to find a way to express like powerful human feelings or complicated ideas. But the processes are very different, and the way that you got to think about it is very different. And I haven't really worked with a choreographer in this way before. The last time Diane and I worked together was on a musical, which that's much more structured. And this, it's like the nature of the collaboration is very different, and very exciting. But I think since they both start from the same place, ultimately it's just about asking the right questions and then providing the artists, like in this case the dancers, with some real clear ways into the piece with like some really exciting structure. And I mean, I think my job is just to support Diane, is to help her find new ways to access her vision and offer new kind of creative prompts for her choreography. Well, Diane and I worked together before on this musical called Improbable Frequency several years ago for a local theatre company called Solace Nua. And Diane and I hit it off immediately because I was a director who could think physically and understood kind of what she was about and what she was trying to do. And she's a choreographer who's interested in like the whole picture, the whole thing, and kind of pushing boundaries and finding creative and unexpected ways in. So we just really had this great collaboration and this real interesting creative exchange. So whenever she asked me to be involved in this, I said yes immediately. Even before there was an idea, I just thought yes. Like when you find your collaborators, you just got to kind of jump in with both feet.
What is the significance? I mean, did you know that Prufrock was going to be involved when you first heard about the collaboration?
No, so we found our way there. What was like Diane came to me and she had this idea of like these three pools of light and an instinct towards working with text. And she knew she wanted to do something that was non-natural, that was exploring something abstract. And she just had these sort of really powerful images, and that she wanted to work with the director. She wanted to work with text. So we brainstormed for several months, like back and forth, thinking of different ways in. And like we consider some things, we know that's too political, or others, no, that's too current. And then I had this idea for using a poem, because poetry is often trying to express something inexpressible or something very hard to express. And this seemed to me perfect for dance, where dancers can capture in the movement of their bodies these deep and complicated feelings that are living inside poets, in a way that when you put it into a story in a play, the same thing might not happen, or there's too many other details mediating between sort of the emotional intent of the poet and the expression of the artist. So I pitched this to Diane over a beer, and it turned out that she loves this poem and had made a dance video of it before. And then she said, I don't want to do it because it scares me, because it's so well known and so significant. And I was like, yep, that's why we should do it. Yeah. If fear is present, you're on the right path. You're in creative territory.
Yeah.
There's something worth looking for.
What emotion do you want people to take away after the piece?
My love for this piece is really grounded in my love for the poetry of T.S. Eliot. He's an American master, he's a modernist, he was doing things, when this poem came out, no one had read anything like it before, no one knew what to do with it. And when you really kind of get down to something that wants movement, the love song with Alfred Prufrock, the nature that it's a love song, the exploration of like this one man's story, his consciousness, his desire for love. The very famous line in the poem is, in the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And to me that's an image of somebody looking from the outside at a world which he is denied and trying to make sense of those complicated feelings. And it looks at his journey in two directions. First of all, he sees himself from the outside as the ridiculous figure that the world sees him as, but experiences himself from the inside with all of his loneliness, love, longing, a desire to kind of, tempt the universe, to tempt fate, to kind of experience something vivid. And it's a love song in which there is no lover. It's a love song in which one man is constantly failing to find love and is lost. The image of drowning is very prevalent in the poem. He's drowning in this modern world where he can't find any connections. That seems to me to be a very kind of profound and powerful metaphor for the anxiety that certainly I see people experiencing in the modern world.
Why spoken word versus music? Dance to spoken word versus dance to music?
So when Diane first approached me to collaborate on this piece, it was with this idea that she wanted as a choreographer to work with text. That she was curious about what happens when you bring text into the room and you're making the dance, and what happens if those things are existing alongside one another. And I thought that was like a really intriguing idea. Since the spoken word, particularly in theatre, can be very musical. And also the spoken word conjures images and imagery with it. And when you dislocate that from an actor in a scene, it becomes a different type of music. It shapes the experience in a different way. And that initial impulse has evolved to include a sound designer. So what we're actually going to do is have a sound designer with his kind of keyboard and his laptop making a live soundscape using sounds from the era, popular songs, streets, noises, like just different things that he will be sort of creating and responding to what we're doing and what we're making in the room. So the performance is going to have three layers. One is a musical layer that is going to be responsive and mixed live rather than a track that's going to be played in advance or something that's being rehearsed. The other will be like me reading the text of the poem. And then the third will be what Diane discovers with the dancers as she explores this piece from many different angles. And it's a definitely like rich and fertile material, and we think it's going to be a really exciting piece.
Does it fit into a broader body of work?
As the Associate Artistic Director of Studio Theatre here in Washington, D.C., a lot of the work that I direct and produce is grounded in realism, which is realistic stories, realistic portrayal of characters, scenes, dialogue, real spaces. And I really love that because it celebrates the actor. It celebrates an actor's ability to go deep into a character and find the truth there and to find realistic human behavior. And I'm very, very, very proud of the work that we do there. This offers an opportunity for me to explore a different side of my kind of skill set and practice. Like I began as a dancer. I used to choreograph when I was a teenager. I've done a lot of different types of work, but haven't had the opportunity to kind of like spread those wings recently. So it's very appealing to me to kind of enter a room in which there's no real text. There's a poem, there's dancers, but we just don't know what's going to happen. And that creative spirit is what I love most about Diane. She just embodies this like balls to the wall creativity. She finds this edge. She's just so ready to take a risk, so ready to kind of throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Oh, that didn't work, let's try something else, let's go again. So it's kind of the opposite of what I do like in my real life.
Yeah.
You know, this is something kind of very alluring and appealing as just a totally different process.
Like you said, you're working from a script normally, and so it's kind of laid out in front of you, and you'll make adjustments, but maybe not on the fly like you would in this situation.
Well, when you're working with an actor, so much of the work is about interpretation of character and interpretation of situation. There's quite an intellectual process where you got to break down who is this person, what is this world, what are these circumstances, what is the truth of their story. But when you're working with dancers on a blank canvas of an empty stage, you're driven by impulse. Like the places that you can go creatively as an artist are much more varied. And it's not that one's better or one's worse, it's just the process yields a different type of creativity. Because the way T.S. Eliot uses language and the things that he's exploring are kind of ephemeral and multi-dimensional, dance is the perfect way to explore those things. Because language locks things into like one state of being, and dance kind of sets them free, like poetry and motion. And the way that Diane and I are talking about exploring this piece using light and shape and movement and the broader context of modernism, like I think it's really exciting. And I think that what we're going to make is something that is a little bit beautiful, a little bit cryptic, that has a great sense of humor, that showcases the work of some really, really, really like interesting dancers.